Hey everyone, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett, thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Mayor's Table. Today we're going to be doing the second episode focusing on local nonprofits, their mission, their people, the services they provide, and how you can help support that mission here locally. Hi everyone, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett here. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Mayor's Table. It's the first week of November. Election Day is tomorrow if you're watching this on November 2nd. So if you've not gotten out to vote during early voting or sent in your ballot, please make sure that you vote tomorrow, November 3rd. I have special guests with me today. We're going to continue on with our conversations regarding our local nonprofits. I wanted to make sure that we brought in a next set of individuals who are making a very big positive difference here in the community. I want to start first. To my left, we have the CEO of Echo Inc., Annette Pinkney. Annette, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And our Executive Director, Anna Krutzke of San Juan County Partnership. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And of course, our always welcome guest, Farmington Police Chief Steve Hebbe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was very warm.
It's what I want it to be. It's cold outside.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. We just wanted to kind of give a stage and a table for us to discuss what your organizations do, the difference that they're making here in the community, kind of your opinion about how things are going right now, what you've been dealing with during the COVID times, as we've called 2020, and maybe how people can get involved more within your mission to help support what you've taken on within the city of Farmington and really broader the San Juan County area. So. Let's kind of just jump into this. And I know, Chief, you're here today representing Guardians of the Good.
Yes, sir.
Which is a combination kind of the fire department and the police department kind of coming together for what is good. And I'm going to get to that here in a second, but I want to make sure I clarified for people what your role was.
Yes, sir.
Here
Thank
today.
you.
So first I want to start to my left, though, with Echo Inc. And Nanette, I appreciate that this is your first year in this role as the executive director. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And where did you come from before taking over this this very challenging role?
I actually came from Sherman, Texas.
All right.
I'm a native Texan. Lived here in the Farmington area before from 96 to 2006 and then moved back. I was able to get this job in January of this year and take over as the CEO for Echo Inc. here in Farmington. So it's been a great transition. Definitely different than what I did before. I was in healthcare management for nonprofits, so completely different spectrum as far as nonprofits go,
Sure.
working in the food industry and emergency services. So definitely a new track for me, very interesting, very challenging, and very fulfilling at the same time.
Well, very cool, though. You can make kind of a lateral movement within that realm of dealing with nonprofits
Yes.
to take on a new challenge here. And
Most definitely.
and coming from Sherman, Texas, that brings a new view to the area and how we're kind of coordinating efforts here locally and statewide to ensure that people are taken care of. And tell us a little bit about what Echo does.
Sure. So most people associate Echo with the Echo Food Bank, and absolutely correct. It's one of our biggest programs that we have in getting food out to the community. We also have our emergency services located in our admin building that provides rental and mortgage assistance, utility assistance, funeral assistance. We have care kits like diaper kits, hygiene kits, different things like that can also help individuals and families that are in need. And then we have our preschool in Aztec that has remained open through the whole COVID situation as an essential business. And then we also have a warehouse in Albuquerque that serves seniors. So they provide free food for seniors through another state program called CSFP. So we have 4 different locations and quite a few different programs going on.
Well, it's interesting. I don't even think I realized that Echo had all of those components mixed into it. We know during the CARES Act funding that we were able to get out to the community, you all are kind of helping take care of some of the rental help and those kind of things.
Definitely.
But that kind of moves into talking about housing and,
Sure.
and rental assistance. And with San Juan County Partnership, kind of that's one of the things that you do. You have many hats too within that organization. Tell us about San Juan County Partnership.
Sure. So San Juan County Partnership is an organization that was started by Pamela Drake back in the early 90s, and our mission is working together with people of all ages and cultures to develop community wellness and prevention awareness. So we do a lot of pieces. We have prevention programming across the county. So what we do is we really focus on positive messaging. We do a lot of work with getting a community needs assessment, getting data across the state, synthesizing that data and getting it out to the community around prevention efforts to reduce substance use by youth and adults, working closely with law enforcement within the community on those efforts. We do Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities program with the Department of Health that works on helping with the schools, making sure that we have fresh local foods coming into our school lunch program. Working to help educate families and kiddos on getting out and getting exercise through like walk to school and bike to school days. Right now, things are getting a little bit more creative,
Sure.
so we're working on doing some of this virtually, which is an interesting process. We also have a housing program which is located on on Elm Street at the Indian Center, where we work to people can come to. We have several housing programs for rental assistance, for move-in assistance, eviction assistance, utility support, and things of that nature. So there are quite a few programs, and those particular programs, we are seeing an increase in funding and coming into the community for those supports. We also have an Americorps program that we work with Untitled Chapter outside Shiprock on the Navajo Reservation to we work with volunteers who come into that program to teach them about how to support veterans within that community, also doing some land reclamation projects and building some paths along the river. So those are some of the projects we do. So it's a lot of different process, yeah.
I would imagine even within those two areas for both your organizations, and maybe a dozen areas really, I mean, how many people does it take to manage that process? How many staff do you have, Nanette?
Well, it depends on the program. So at our admin office where we do our emergency services, I really have 2 part-time and 1 full-time person that manages that. And just to kind of give you an idea, this time last year we were doing about $8,000 in assistance. We're over $50,000 a month in assistance now.
In assistance for all the different
For
rent?
yes, the rent, the utilities, funeral assistance, all of that.
You said it's over $50,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, we're averaging over $50,000 a month right now. Our food bank, we have 8, I believe, total employees there. And just to kind of compare it to last year, we provided 1,177,767 pounds of food between March and August. Same time frame this year, 1,785,996 meals or pounds, and that equates to almost 1.5 million meals that those pounds have provided to the community. So it's few people to manage a great surge in services from a previous year.
Certainly. And from your, are you seeing similar type things, Anna, and talk a little bit about the staff that you have managing?
Right, so I currently have 7 staff, and we will be increasing our staff as we gain more grants. I am currently waiting on a new grant to work. It's a 5-year program through federal grant through SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Administration. I probably didn't get all the words in there, but that program is going to be working on polysubstance abuse within San Juan County. I'm really excited about that. So we're not looking at just alcohol abuse, marijuana abuse, opioid abuse, but the combinations. Mm-hmm. So we're going to dig into that. We're waiting for that to kind of be finalized, and it should be in action. I should be looking to hire a program manager for that program in December, I'm hoping, if everything goes right. So I'm waiting for those pieces. The grant is finalized. It's secured, but need to wait for the other details. So but we will be working with groups across the state with that particular program. I have 2 certified prevention specialists who work for us. So they've gone through the training and are licensed with the state of New Mexico, and I'm currently working on my own as well. And they do a lot of the work with the Office of Substance Abuse Prevention, working with law enforcement, working with the schools. We work with pharmacies. We create messaging and information and education that we can get out to the community in lots of different ways, and we're exploring a ton of different ways, using a lot more social media and things of that nature, working on doing some video that we're getting out. We were going to have it in some of this video messaging at the movie theaters this year, but because we're not able to do that, we have that playing in Shiprock right now and at the DZ clinic. I'm going to talk to some other organizations around town that may have some video access as well. So just trying to let people know that most people and most young people aren't using and abusing drugs. You know, that I think there's a lot of misnomers out there that people think, oh, all kids experiment and try and use, but that's not the case.
I think that number's coming down.
It
from
has come
stuff
down.
that I've seen.
And I don't have those statistics with me right now, but we're working on putting a dashboard on our website that is going to allow people to access that information. We're going to keep that current with current data to really showcase that the reality is most people are very responsible, and most kids are not abusing drugs. So, those 2 folks are doing,
And that data's on your website and kind of shows the history?
There is some, yes, the needs assessment is on our website with that current data, and we're working on making it a lot more user-friendly with this dashboard. I do believe that at our next Community Health Improvement Council meeting, which I believe is the 3rd Thursday of the month at 3, that we're going to have a presentation on the dashboard and how to access it and what that looks like and what the data looks like. So we're really excited about that. And one of the reasons that we're doing this is a place for anybody within the county to get that data, and they can use it for themselves.
Sure.
You know, this isn't something that we have ownership of it. It's something that we have done in order to support the efforts around the county. So they can take those numbers and apply for funding themselves, utilizing that data that we've collected.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Annie, you're new to San Juan County Partnership.
I am.
And it's just interesting you and Nanette both coming in the same year. Where are you from, and what were you doing prior to coming here?
Sure. So I started in March. I was working for Presbyterian Medical Services here in town for about almost 7 years, and I started over there in 2013 as a therapist, as an intake coordinator. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and then became a supervisor over there and supervisor Community Health Improvement Council, the Comprehensive Community Support Services Program. Too many. I'm trying not to use any acronyms, so it's not as confusing. Because there are too many. And different organizations, different initials mean different things. And then was the administrator for, the clinical administrator for the residential treatment center here in town until February. So that was when I started to move on. So I've been working in the community with the mental health population, with the kids. I worked with managed the MST, multi-systemic therapy program, for several years. So worked closely with a lot of different people in the community, doing a lot of different things. And I was ready for a shift. And when I was asked if I wanted to come over to the partnership and try something brand new, I got pretty excited. So here I am, new energy and learning some new things.
I just like that example. We talk a lot with kids in school about you're staying in school, getting into a career, and when you stay somewhere and you learn a skill set and you meet people and network, it gives you so many opportunities where you then, the people you work around, the people you work with are going to help you in your career, and they're going to provide you opportunities. And so it's great to see that kind of happening here. But Steve Hebbe, Chief of Police,
You know, that didn't
Farmington,
really
New
happen
Mexico.
for me, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Nearly 30 years ago, I started in policing. I'm still a cop. So, didn't quite work as well as it has for these ladies, but thank you for having me on
Yeah,
today.
well, yeah. Tell us about Guardians of the Good. I want to call it Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's farming. It's just Farmington, San Juan County. But you're Guardians of the Good. Talk a little bit about that. Is this the third year now
Third
that
year.
we're looking at doing it?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So a couple of years ago, my wife Janet and I were talking. We'd watched some videos where the waitress is getting a $500 tip, or where some deserving person was getting something to recognize them, and I thought, that's been a problem for me in my career. We wind up dealing with all the negative in policing, and you do see a lot of the misery, and you see a lot of how bad people can be to each other, and maybe it's just human nature, but you tend to focus on that, and you lose in there that actually there's so many good people in our community here in San Juan County in particular, that actually every day are going out and they're laboring hard. They're doing the best they can for the community. They're doing the best they can for their family. They're helping other people out, and they're almost unheralded. And so she and I thought, we could throw some money into a pot and we could actually go out ourselves and do that. And I hit up Dave Burke because I thought Dave would be somebody that would want to participate with us. Police and fire here have really had a good, close relationship through the years. Dave joined in right away, so the first year it was really the three of us, and we raised a little bit of money. We weren't very well organized to raise money. It was just something we wanted to go out and do. The second year, Chief Burke really liked how it had gone, and he suggested that we reach out to some of the other fire or police chiefs in San Juan County and see if we could make it a little bigger event involving the entire county in the process. And so we did do that. And so all the police and fire chiefs last year contributed into it. We're not a big organization. We don't have tens of thousands of dollars, and we're not certainly trying to compete for the limited dollars that are out there. But we have taken some donations. Zimes Ford has been a big contributor to us the last 2 years. They've donated a car to help somebody that was in need. Target has been a good supporter of ours. Realty Pros donated nicely, and then we've had some citizens donate. So we're maybe talking $5,000 or $6,000 that we're kind of parsing out. And we solicit nominations from people throughout the community. Tell us about somebody that you know that is just a great citizen, a great part of our community, and they work hard and they're up against it a little. They could just use a break. They could use a hand, as well as a little recognition. And we've really received some great nominations, and so we sit as a little panel, all the chiefs, and we kind of go through the nominations, and we see what we can do with this case or with that case. And then we go out and we present them with a check, or we do some other things for them, arrange the car, and or gift coupons to one of the businesses. So it's been a nice positive chance to recognize what a overwhelmingly good community that we live in, of people that really do work hard and make San Juan County what it is, but rarely get recognized in it. Now this year, I think there's going to be 100 times more examples of it, because everybody's really been up against it and been working hard. We've had so many first responders, up and down from the hospitals through fire and EMS and everything that are still out there mission essential. But then you've even had the cashiers and clerks at the grocery stores and things like that are coming in and had themselves for months on the line to keep our community going, keep people fed. And so I'm really eager to see what kind of nominations we get. Unfortunately, I think the need is also much greater. I'm sorry for both of you starting in your new positions this year. That's at least I had a few years to kind of get ready.
Yeah, really.
Before it hit us. But I think the nominations, there'll be so many really great people that deserve to be recognized, but there'll be also a lot of need beyond what you guys have been able to do. So, if you want to contribute to us, we're down here through Greg Allen's San Juan Safe Communities. We're a subset of it, Guardians of the Good, so we're a 501c3 under San Juan Safe Communities. if you can donate, we'd love that. But we'll also have the nomination forms up soon on our website with FPD, and then all the other departments, fire and sheriff's office. They'll all have it up. You just download one of the nomination forms, tell us a little bit about the person and how we can get hold of them and how we can get hold of you so that we can talk with you a little bit as we're going through the process. But it's been great. It's been a rewarding thing, and I wish I'd have started it years ago, but I've really met some great people in our community that I didn't even know were out there. They don't tend to have contact with the police. So those are the people that I like getting a chance to sit down and talk with.
Sure. Well, I think it's interesting, Chief talks about this unique partnership between fire and police in the city, and you don't find that everywhere. I found that interesting on calls, statewide calls with different or police or fire agencies. They talk about Farmington in this special kind of context because there's other charitable things that you all work together on. The High Dive Challenge is something that is, I believe it was a PD thing, and we brought fire in, or
Yep.
could have been vice versa. And then fire's also brought in Special Olympics stuff that they've been involved with. PD has been there as well. So, and I want to kind of transition that thought to what you all do, and how important is it when you have two agencies that kind of do similar things in some ways, especially on the housing side of it. How important is it that you all work together, and is there like a central hub that's communicating with you all on who needs to help who? So we've talked a lot on this show and on my radio show about the United Way hotline, the 211 hotline.
Yes.
If you need help, you call 211 and they're going to find the resources for you. I imagine that you are both, your organizations obviously are a component of that. So, but talk a little bit about the importance of working together with these other local nonprofits to ensure that we're not doubling up efforts. You have to be very efficient with limited staff to ensure the most good is being done.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, a great example of that right now is that, and I don't know what this stands for, but the chat meeting, which David Burke was part of, we just had that last week. And with the PATH having a new director as well, and Annette and myself.
It's a big change this year for
huge change,
big
exactly.
local nonprofits. Yeah.
Right. But we were all on that meeting the other day, and I was recognizing, oh my gosh, we all need to be connecting with each other. So I was going to put together an opportunity for us to all have a regular Zoom so we could be talking about some of the issues and the struggles and the challenges, and supporting each other and giving each other ideas about how we can work through what we're going through right now and how to best support the community.
Yeah.
So we're going to work on connecting ourselves. And so that was one venue that allowed us to kind of see each other and get an opportunity. And that was through Zoom.
Yeah.
So even though, a lot of these community meetings have been in existence for a long time, and we're used to seeing each other in certain areas, we haven't had, it has slowed down. And so if you're not being invited to, or know who to reach out to, that becomes difficult. So it's really nice that people are continuing to work towards pushing that connection so that we can work together.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree. We were speaking beforehand about just that, exactly, communicating together, and specifically about the CARES Act funding, whether it's through the city level or whether it's through the state or county level, and how it's important and actually requirements that the individuals or families cannot get assistance through state funding, CARES Act funding for the same thing from different agencies, and how we can manage that. And unfortunately, there's really not, at least for ECHO, not a hub. They have systems that they can communicate with due to federal programs that they use, and they're required to house that information, but it's not always real time either.
Right.
So that is a challenge. A lot of it is an honor system for the families that are coming in, to say, have you requested assistance from anybody else for this? And their attestation that answer is no. Or there could be a circumstance where maybe Anna's organization can only help with a portion of that, and ECHO can help with the rest. So that's a valid situation. So, and being able to communicate. And I know in the past, ECHO has done some kind of like a referral to another agency that says, we helped with this amount of money, this is what's remaining, and they take that on to the other agency. But it's definitely important, especially as new into these positions, that we create those networks and that we communicate and learn what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, so if we hadn't been brought into, this arena together, we would not have had that conversation.
Right.
So
Oh, all right.
Yes.
you helped
Thank you.
facilitate
I
that.
did.
It was super
Absolutely.
helpful.
Hey,
You're a facilitator.
we did
That's
something
right.
good here today. Well, that's great. That's good
Yeah.
to see. And I think the chat meetings are, they're very important, especially face-to-face stuff. And that's one of the things I think, part of the thing I've missed most this year is that networking opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you get to hear so much about what's happening and allows you to kind of bring people together. But let me ask some questions specifically to what we've been dealing with since March. I mean, we've talked a little bit about, and I'm happy to hear that substance abuse in teens is down. Do we have any information in regards to what we're seeing happening now? Is that changing? Do you have information that you could share on that?
So we are working on trying to collect some data now. At the national level, we are seeing an increase across the board of substance use, of substance abuse, of suicide, of a lot of, of really concerning behaviors with people being isolated. So a lot of that data is just starting to come out. I do believe that we are lucky enough to be able to have some funding that we can utilize to try to prevent some of that. We don't have a ton of information yet, and I don't have statistics specifically to the county on any of that yet.
Okay.
But it is something that I am bracing myself for and working really hard with my staff to try to figure out how are we going to really reach the people who need to be reached, and and so on the fly we're getting really creative. We're doing a lot of social media work, doing some work with someone Safe Communities as well, with in this venue to bring people together to try to get some messaging out and help people understand what resources are out there and how they can get help. So we are trying to connect with everybody else around that. So there is a little bit of an unknown, and I don't know exactly
Sure.
how that's going to look, but I am always open to support, feedback, any kind of information that people have, or ideas to make sure that we are addressing those issues.
We put out a survey kind of dealing with that and asking any updates that the nonprofits and law enforcement agencies might have in regards to those things you pointed out, substance abuse, child abuse, suicide.
Yeah.
So that we can be better prepared in how we're dealing with those things. Nanette, on the side that you're working on, I mean, you've already given us, you were at $8,000 average last year that you were giving out, and now over these past few months, it's up to $50,000.
Correct.
And there's an application process that individuals have to go through in order to receive these funds. I mean, I'm picturing it, and it's an emergency situation that somebody's in, they've just lost their home, or they're going to lose their home, is that right?
Yes.
What about in a situation where it's like transitional housing situations where they're just trying to get back on their feet, they need somewhere? Are those also individuals who are considered for the type of housing funds that you have?
Yeah. So for ECHO, we do have some funding from the state that we can help them with their first month's rent as long as they have their deposit and they can prove that they're going to be able to manage their rent financially, moving forward. But we're pretty much limited to that. All of our other funding is going to be mostly for arrearage type situations. So for example, the San Juan County CARES Act funding, that's going to be for arrearages that were started like mid-March through the end of December, which is when the funding expires, so we have to use this funding by then. It doesn't include current rent, but if they're in arrearages from March to now, we can pay 100% of that.
Oh,
But
wow.
they do have to prove they are affected by COVID.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
not just as simple as walking in and saying I'm behind and I haven't looked for a job or something like that. They have to be able to show they were laid off, they were furloughed, their hours were reduced. Maybe there was a COVID-related death in the family, that affected them financially, or maybe they had COVID themselves. So there's different things, but they do have to show proof of that in order to access that specific funding.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we do have, federal, state, and city funding that kind of runs the gamut, where we have a lot of different programs, and there definitely has to be a proof of homelessness or risk of homelessness, and those are categorized very specifically. So there is an application process, but nobody should hesitate to come and ask us.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly,
Yes.
because you never know.
Right.
And one of, with some of the CARES Act funding, one of the things that is really helpful is that instead of being below 30% of the mean income, it's 50% now. So we do have a significant chunk of funding that we can utilize this year that is at that level, that is going to help a lot more people.
I think it's good information for people to know. And I hope, if people watching this, if they know of individuals who need help, that's kind of the key for a lot of these mayor's tables. Is it may not be affecting me personally, but I may know somebody that these things are affecting. And if you don't ask, you're never going to know. And so don't be shy about it. We felt the same way about the CARES Act funding for small businesses. A lot of businesses asking, well, but look, I'm not sure if I meet this or not. You should apply.
Right.
Take the time, apply, because that money is going to be very useful. So, well, Chief, I wanted to kind of ask you, beyond Guardians of the Good, what are you seeing in local law enforcement in regards to maybe things that we've been talking about in regards to calls for service for mental illness issues, suicide? Are you seeing an uptick here in the city in regards to these things?
I don't know, just in general on the mental health calls, we certainly, that's been an unfortunate part of our routine calls through the years. I think the county is...
Well, it's not, and I want to be clear, that's not new, by the way.
No.
I mean, individuals who are in need of mental health care, I mean, it's been a percentage of calls for forever, since policing began. I mean, so it's just interesting now recently, though, that's become the issue of, should we send police or do we find another means of dealing with that situation? And but please.
Which is a challenge, because there isn't, nobody really has a great solution to it right now when somebody's actually in crisis. What do you do? Philadelphia police just the other day got into a shooting over that exact scenario. The family calls, he's got a knife, he's acting aggressively. Obviously, he's in a mental crisis. So sending the police has been our rote call, but it's a challenge for us to navigate it without an unfortunate outcome. And in Philly, it was a controversial outcome.
Yes.
For us, really, the biggest thing that we've seen is a very significant rise in suicides here in Farmington. So last year, we had 4 the entire year, and we're at 14 already. and that's the successful ones. I get updates regularly on attempted suicides. Some of them, very significant attempts. That there's significant injury, that people require hospitalization. It's not just threats. So that has been, I think when somebody writes the book on COVID and how government responds to it, I think that's undervalued right now. I don't know that we're doing a good job of capturing that, but I would agree with what was said earlier. I think it's just unarguable that the isolation is impacting people. Now, I'm not criticizing the lockdowns that we've had to do across the country. We're doing the best we can with the information we have, but we're going to have more information at the end of this, and some of them are going to come from the police. And when you're at almost a 4-fold increase in suicides in a city our size, I mean, that's stunning. And then when it's several of them are kids under 18 and even younger than that, we need to take that into account when we face the next pandemic-like decision-making tree of what do we do and what are the costs of what we do, because I do think that it's impacting people, and we see it in law enforcement.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt, and it's almost it takes your breath away.
It does.
When you think about that, and for me personally, just think about anybody who would come to that term in their mind where they think there's no hope. There's no hope, and I think what we're trying to get through to folks is that here in the city of Farmington there is hope, and there is going to be a better day tomorrow. And if you're in that position right now where you need assistance, there's a number of organizations who are here to help serve that need. To the best of their ability. We can't solve everybody's problems, and I say we collectively. Government can't solve everybody's problems, and our local nonprofits can't solve everybody's problems. A lot of times there's things that fall between the cracks. But if you don't ask, you don't know, and if you're not trying to get somebody who needs help into a position where they can be helped, then we're not doing the best that we can. So I think in the positions that you all serve, I just say thank you to you and your staff and to your volunteer bases for their willingness to go out there and say, this is important to me and I want to do that. And I'll speak to Echo. I mean, my kids have donated time at Echo since they were, youth group from Grace Baptist Church. They've been doing stuff at Echo forever, and they've not been able to do that over these past few months, which has been very, unfortunate for me, because I want them involved in these kind of things so that they can get a full view of the picture of the world and understanding the fact that there are those who are desperately in need, and look at your position and ability to give back. And we all, I think, we have to kind of take that in, and I think we have during this time. I think we've done a lot of introspective thinking about this. I know it gets very personal when you're asked to do things or told you have to do things that you may not want to do in regards to your daily lives and your daily habits, activities, and those sorts of things. But the bottom line is we're all being asked to do it. It's not an individual thing. No one's being pointed out. And so if you're in that position to where you have been negatively affected, here's groups and people that are ready to serve. So call 211, get on the internet, find a place where they can serve. Certainly the suicide hotlines, and 211 will put you in connection with that as well. But we're all dealing with some mental anguish, I think, and how do we cope, and how do we deal with need and those things. So I don't know. I think maintaining that positive attitude is key. And I did want to kind of just briefly, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but it's interesting to me you're publicly and privately funded. And I want to kind of get on the difference here, because when you are publicly funded, whether it's through the federal government or state government, not so much for what the city provides, there are stipulations to where you can use that money. As opposed to private money that flows in, which gives you much more leeway in how you can spend that money. And I think that's a big difference. The city faces the same thing. If we take money from the feds, then we're required to follow federal guidelines on how we use it. But if we get money through regular means, that's a different story. So kind of talk a little bit, if you can, I mean, just what programs you're allowed to have more leeway with that private funding. Nanette.
Sure. So really interesting that you would ask that, because we've been looking at some data like that across New Mexico. There's 5 regional food banks. There's only 5 food banks in the state of New Mexico, and of course we're one of them. And across all 5 of us, 51% of our funding is private. It's individual giving of some sort. 16% is government contracts. So, and those are the hardest ones to manage. You do, like you said, have a lot of federal and state guidelines that you have to follow. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You got to hire a part-time person just to manage what you have to keep track of.
Basically, that's what our COO does. I mean, that's what she does all day is manage those particular programs. So, and we're going to be facing some decreases in those programs coming into the next calendar year, 2021. So that's going to be huge for us. And those private donations are going to be even more important to us to be able to purchase foods. And unfortunately, even with more, those donations aren't going quite as far because foods have increased.
Yeah.
So a case of peanut butter was $6. Now it's almost $18. That just kind of gives you an idea. It's an over 300% increase in just that specific type of food that we purchase. So, but yeah, I mean, we have to, grants, when we write grants, they're restricted as well, unless they're for general operating expenses. But most of them are specifically for food or a specific program. So, and we're at 17% across New Mexico grant funded. So 51% private, which is extremely important. So that money that's given to us by individuals or companies is extremely important. And then 17% grants, and then 16% government funding, and the rest is a little bit of local government and a miscellaneous, which I'm not really sure what that includes, but it's only 1%. So, but yeah, it's tricky. It really is.
Interesting.
Yeah. We are almost 100% grant funded.
Really?
So we have to follow those rules for every single grant, and so each employee almost has their own rules in terms of what a percentage I can pay people, and so I have to do a contract every year based on our grants with all of our employees, and then there's a certain amount that we can have for administrative costs or for rent or for, I have to keep track of each one of those. One of the things we do is we do at least one fundraiser a year. We have been doing San Juan County's Got Talent historically, obviously not happening this year.
No, unfortunately.
So we're going to do an online art auction with Bidding for Good. We've contracted them to help us out. So we are collecting art for anybody out there, artists or any beautiful pieces that you have at home. I do believe this is going to be, it will be nationally put out there. I have about 20 pieces so far, a couple of really lovely pieces. It's all different kinds of things. So sculpture, painting, jewelry, weavings, anything people have. I would be ecstatic to bring that in.
You can do something fun with that.
Yeah,
I mean, we could have
certainly.
Chief Hebbe and Chief Burke, put together the best paper mache.
Well, honestly,
go.
I think you're missing a fundraiser. I think if you had somebody paint a mural of the chief of police,
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I just
Holding-
think
holding
it
a-
draws in money.
Absolutely.
I think it's a winner.
I got to hold a pug in the picture.
I'm just,
That's
well,
key.
yeah, I could.
Hey,
hold
so
it.
these are ideas that we could build on
Yes,
for next
interesting.
year.
We're
We're just
that's what
brainstorming
we-
sessions.
We're
This
all
is great.
brainstorming.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that you're
Yeah.
adapting.
So
And
we are adapting. So that's going to be November 20th through the 27th.
So the auction online.
Online. And as I get more information, we'll put it on our Facebook page, we'll put the details on our webpage, and
Yeah.
I will get it out to other community venues as well, so that people know when that is and what to look for. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
And fundraising is a great point. We didn't even indicate that on our graph that we did when we looked at that. And probably because this year it's been tough. We even canceled our annual Blue Jean Ball, which last year was the first year. So I was looking forward to this year.
Sure.
And it was canceled. Fortunately, we have a couple of food drives that are, one that's in play right now, the San Juan County Food Drive Challenge with the Mr. Potato Head trophy. So that's going on right now. And then the Stuff the Bus will be on, I believe it's November 21st. And then the Food Bank Association of New Mexico, we are actually working with some celebrities out of Santa Fe to do a virtual online concert. And that's going to be February 13th. So there's more information to come on that, but we're really excited about that and hoping that's going to get us some good funding.
Well, I think the annual chamber banquet, the Christmas banquet, we've always done some stuff with Echo.
Right.
And so this year
Yes.
I know Kaiser, my agency's working to we probably won't be having that,
Right.
unfortunately, having that banquet, but we want to make sure we're still, collecting and donating from the local businesses. So I know we'll be
We
working
appreciate
on that
that.
as well. Chief Hebbe, it's coming down to the end time. Anything you want to add here before we have to break away?
I just think, so my little group here is certainly not in competition with any of these folks. If people have money, though, they should be donating back to the community and helping out, especially this year. We have a lot of need in our community. Like I said, I think the nominations that we're looking at, I'm sure, are going to be much higher than years past from the first couple of years we did it. And I know the need throughout Farmington is much greater than it was 6 months ago when we entered this thing. So if you are in a position to give to your community, now's the time. We actually need you. There's a lot of folks, good people in our community that need help. Let's all chip in. Let's get through this together.
No, great message. Great
Yes.
message. Anna, final thoughts here?
Agreed. Please, in any way that you can, support every organization, anything that speaks to you within the community. We could all use the help in any way that you have to give.
Nanette?
I concur with both of them. Great message. If you have the ability, it doesn't have to be Echo. It doesn't have to be Anna's organization. Whatever speaks to you, whatever your heart wants to give, it's just more important than ever at this time.
Well, Thanksgiving's coming, and November's a great month to remember and reflect on those things that we have to be thankful for, and I'm certainly thankful for the job that you're doing in our communities. People don't understand the importance of nonprofits or the importance of how an economy supports those nonprofits. I mean, it takes good businesses employing people to put that money back out there so that individuals can make that concerted effort to say, you know what, I want to give. But I certainly agree with our guests. If it's in your heart and if it's in your pocketbook, whether you're a corporation or an individual, giving this time of year is critical and more critical now than ever. So look for those organizations. I know the San Juan United Way has got a long list of nonprofits listed on there. There's the Guardians of the Good. But think about the difference that you can make in somebody else's life this holiday season, and be thankful for those things that you have. So I want to appreciate and thank you all for joining us today on the Mayor's Table, and I appreciate you for tuning in. I wish you all a happy Election Day, and we'll see you here next time on the Mayor's Table.